Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to your own channel, Creative Data Insight. And in this series of video, I'll talk about data analytics using tool Excel. And in Excel, we will talk about a lot of function which you are going to be use in your daily life. And these are the most common function which I have started talking about. The very first common function is a VLOOKUP, and data we have downloaded it from the dummy data, and there is a website. I have updated a link as well, and you can search this website and you can download any dummy data for your practice purpose. And then we will talk about VLOOKUP function. VLOOKUP is a function which is very helpful if you want to find any information from the table, uh, which is which is vertically, and you also need to pull the information in the vertically table. So this function is very useful, and we will also talk about uh, what you need to check before applying this function, because duplicate value, if we exist in the data, then this function will not work correctly, or it will return the value which is not might not be the correct one. And then we will talk about the limitation of VLOOKUP. Now I'll jump to the table which is employee management data. Now my task is given by my manager, or your manager would be that you need to fill this information for each employee. If you look at the total number employees are 32, out of we have a total number of employees are 40, which means for 8 employee we do not want information. If you want to fill this information, what we can do, we can go to here, we can find it. Okay, we find it, and what we can do, we can copy this information and we can fill this information. And the same way, what we can do, copy this information, search this information. Okay, I found this, copy this information, and I'll go and paste it here. But this is very time consuming task. So for this we have a one function which is VLOOKUP function, which will help us to fill this information very quickly and accurately. Now I'll delete this. Now before I'll start putting the function and talking about this function, first let me talk about some very basic things. Like, for data analytics, it's important you to present the data in a way that the person who is looking at the data can easily understand the data. Which means if you look at this first table and the second table, all the text, all the fonts are the same, which means it's very difficult to understand which one is a row and which one is a data. So what I'll do, I'll select the very first row. What I have did, I have selected I have selected a control shift and right arrow. So it will select all the cells which consist the data. Now what I can do, the at the same time, what is important you to understand that you are not only going to use all the function by just selecting this and this, but what at the same time you need to understand, if you are very familiar with the shortcut, then this will make your life super fast, and this will be very helpful to save your time. What I'll do, I'll show you all the formula and function in a shortcut way as well, and I'll also talk about function which are available in which ribbon tab of Excel. So first, what we need to do, just to distinguish between the data and the header. So what we can do, we can select Control B. So this way, this will bold the data, the very first row which consists the data. Now we can see the very first row is bold. Okay, this is great, but still this is very, we need to put a lot of focus to see, okay, this one is a header. What next we can do? So control B is just to bold the text, and control U is to underline the text. Now I have underlined the text as well. What else you can do? You can just change the font to big one, so that okay, you can see this is seems like a header. What else you can do? You can fill the color for these cells. So what I'll do, I'll go to this particular section and I'll select the drop down. You can select any color which you seems will be very presentable. So for this case, what I'll do, I'll select the blue color. Oh, yes, I have selected a blue color, but if you look at the very first uh, row, seems like it's very difficult to read the very first row. Now, what else we can do? I can select any font color as well. This is font color. I'll select white. Now this is very much readable. And the same thing I wanted to do it for this particular table as well, which a person will refer. So I don't need to do it from the scratch. What I can do, I can click my cursor on the any one of the cell which is already formatted. I'll click on the format painter, and if you see, this is select, it seems like this is selected. And if you look at the column F1, this is again seems like a circle is going on, which means this is a selected. Already format painter copied the formatting. Now I want to fill this information in very first cell. Okay, this is updated, but the same thing I have to do it for all the cells. So what I can do, I can double click on this, which means this is selected, and I'll put the same info, select all the cells. Now my all the cells are in the align with the first table, and all the cell seems like the same. Now I'll show you how we can put a function, VLOOKUP function, to pull the information. The very first point is VLOOKUP is a function which will find the information vertically from this particular table and fill the information in this particular table. So let's say your manager says that you need to fill this information. So what you can do, you can copy this information, you can find this information in employee ID. Okay, you found it. And what you can do, you can copy this information and you can fill this information here. But this task is very repetitive. Let's say you need to do it for the thousand of rows. Then this task will take a lot of time. And this is using a VLOOKUP function. You can fill this information within a 1 or 2 minute. See, this will take a lot of time, and this is error prone as well. So what I'll do, I'll show you quickly the VLOOKUP function. I'll go here, I'll type here VLOOKUP. Now, once I have started writing, Excel itself suggesting me this is the function you are going to use. If I'll select tab, which means this function is selected, or you can write the entire function by yourself as well. And the very first argument, they are the multiple arguments um, after open parenthesis. So the very first is lookup value, then table array, then column index number, then lookup range. So what I'll do, the very first one is lookup value. Which value you want to look up in the table? So I want to look up this particular value in the table. So I have selected it. Now I'll click on the comma. So that my table array will seems bold. Okay. If you look at now, table array is bold. What I need to do, what is table array? Table array is a table from where I need to pull the information. I'll select entire table. This is my entire table array. I'll again click comma, and I'll scroll upside. Now it's asking me column index number. Column index number, which means each column is representing as a number. A is 1, B is 2. The same way till F. This is column number, column index number 6. Now I need to fill the information for full name. So what I'll do, this is my second column index number. I'll click second 2 from my keyboard. I'll again select comma. Now it's asking me lookup range lookup, sorry. So again we have a two option here. The first one, true, approximate, and the false is exact match. But we want the exact match. So for true we can type 1, and for false we can type 0. So if I'll click false and I can close the bracket, it will show me the result. And if I want to fill the information in rest of the uh, below cell, so what I can do, I can copy this information. I'll click left arrow and then I'll select control plus down arrow and then right arrow and control shift up arrow. So it will select all the blank cells until all the cells seems blank. So what I'll do, I'll click on control D. It will fill the function formula in rest of the cells. If you look at the information, this is absolutely correct and all the cells are filled using the function. Now if I'll change the cell, if you look at here, once I am putting a down arrow, the numbers are keep changing. But there is a one problem in this function. So try to understand this function very carefully, which means Excel is working on the reference cells and absolute value. So in this case, we are using a referencing cell, which means I have to tell Excel that these value will remain intact. We don't want to change it. So I'll click function F2. Now I can again see entire function. So what I need to do, I'll go to here and this is my table array. My table array will remain the same for all the cases. So what I'll do, I'll go to my keyboard and I'll select function plus F4 plus F4, which means I have to keep pressing the function and then I'll click on F4. Now if you look at the same values, which is my table array, now for each column and row number we have updated dollar sign, which means these value will remain intact in this formula. Now I'll put enter and again have to copy this and I'll fill the information in my all the cells. Now this is control D. Value will not change, but this might be present incorrect data in case you have not freeze the cells. Now the same way what I can do, I can fill the information in department as well. Now one more thing I want to talk about. This is a common or simple table, but we are calling it as a table, but this is not a table. What we have to do to make it table, we will select this entire table and format as a table. Now I'll go here. I'll select this one. This one seems good. Now this is seems like a table. So what is the exactly purpose of converting it into the table? I'll show you in this function. So again, I'll put equal to VLOOKUP. The same thing I have to do. I'll click tab and then I'll select this lookup value. Now I'll go here. So this is something I wanted to show you. If you look at this particular, this is showing as a table 2 and then the all, which means entire table is selected. We don't have to freeze any particular cell or columns. This will be done by the Excel by defaultly if you are converting a data to table. Now I don't need to do it. Any cell any freezing of cell and column. Now I'll click on comma. Now again I have to select a column index number. So this time my column index number would be department. I'll and department is in a third column. So I'll type 3 from my keyboard and then again comma and the lookup value. Like I said previously as well, for true we can type 1 as well, or we can type true uh, in a bold letter, or we can type false as well. For false, what we can do, we can simply type 0 and then the bracket close. Now the same function I'm using, control D, just to drag the formula to rest of the cells. Now all the cells are filled. Now if you look at the table array function from here, this will remain the same for all the cells. We don't need to freeze any particular column or cell. The same thing we can do. The same thing we can do. I'll copy this function and I'll put it here. Now what we need to do, if you look at the function carefully, now the lookup value is the full name. Now I don't want lookup value as a um, full name. I want the lookup value as employee ID. So what I can do, instead of this, I can freeze this value as a I2, and what I can do, I can freeze the only cells. So I'll put my cursor here and I'll click on function F4. Now this is freezed both column and cells. I'll again do it. Now this is freezed any Excel row, but I want to freeze column only. Yeah, now this is done. But the another problem is column index number. So designation is in fourth column. So this I have to change it manually. 4 again. What I'll do, I'll control down arrow and then control D. And then I need to fill the higher date. What again I can do, I can copy this, I can paste this. So if you look at the function again, lookup value is correct, table array is correct. The only thing what you need to change is higher date, which is in column index number 5. So I only need to change 4 to 5. Yes, this is done. Okay, now I'll click control D. And the last one is annual salary. The same thing I have to do. I'll copy this, I'll paste it here, and then I have to change column index number 5 to 6. Done. This is done. This is super easy, right? One thing I have just noticed that higher date is seems like in a number. So date is basically a number, but we have to change from journal. You can go to the home tab and then within a number you can select journal, and then what you can do, more number, and then date, and then any date format you can select this one. Once I'll click on this, the same thing I have to do it here again, because if you look at the value, this is the values are correct, but the column is again journal. So what I'll do, I'll select it all the cells, I'll go to general. I can, instead of using a drop down, I can click on this. I can use control and 1 as well, just to pull this window, and we can select a date format as well. Now I'll select the same date format here as well. So the best thing about the VLOOKUP is any value if I'm changing here, the same value will reflect in this cell as well. Let's say this will be 1 lakh rupees, then the value will get update here as well. This is a use of VLOOKUP. And the limitation, if I'll talk about, we always have to look up the value toward the right. For an example, this is a lookup value, and we want to find the value toward the right of the cell. So this value should be in the left hand side of the table, and all the value toward right we can pull any information. We cannot find any information which is available left of the lookup value. Thank you so much. Please do watch. Please do practice. I'll come up with a uh, more more such videos, and I'll talk about it. So for today, this is the video I wanted to share with all of you. Learning I wanted to share with all of you. Please do uh, subscribe this channel, like the video, and share with your friends. Thank you all.